Hey yo, it's Guido coming at you with a tactics talk and another, hey, how could I have won this battle? This time from Tracker 001. He's in his T95. He's loaded in here to Overlord in the south, and we're gonna sit back. All right, so how could he have won this one? Clearly, I've already given away that he loses the game. I will say this, Tracker, at the very beginning. If you're going to play defensively like this, you are to a large extent relying on your team to make it winnable. There are cases where big TDs like this can save a game. Sometimes the enemy will just feed themselves into you and you'll have a huge game. You might even say, hey, I carried the game. But if you sat back, like what we're going to see right here, anything that really happened was set up by all your teammates who went forward, whether good or bad. And you don't really have a vote for quite a long time. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, the counter is always, well, this is a slow tank. It's hard to get in position. Absolutely. 100% agree with you. That's true. It is the nature of the game. It is the nature of these big, slow, armored TDs. But if you do W towards the enemy, you will eventually get there. Now, where I like to go with this, actually, a T95 on this map, is over here on the east side and work this alleyway and be the big bruiser that just pushes in and gives all these smaller, faster tanks a way to get in and amongst them. If we just sit back here, so we got a Type 4, we've got an E75 up there, the battle is pretty much determined. Now, your team does a decent job, and I'm going to say largely without you. You're going to get a shot, nice shot right there. That guy keeps pushing out into the open sideways. Take all those shots that you can get. There is only one artillery, so that is going to give you some options, and it's a relatively small one actually at tier 8. The 155-51 does not hit that hard, especially against the armor, unless he actually pins the top deck of your tank, and I think one just hit you. There you go. So he just took no damage off you. He just stunned you. So like I said, we can sit back here and we're relying on the enemy team to kind of pop out and make the game work for us. That's why I don't like sitting next to Cap, even if it is a decent sniper position with a decent amount of lanes of fire. And I talked about going up into about the 9 column or so, and about now you'd be there. You probably would have been there a while ago, actually. I mean, we are almost 3 minutes into this game. We have 693 damage. Our team's lost 2. They've lost 1. And one of our biggest assets, one of our biggest guns, is not in the game. Now, there's a lot of reasons people play like this. This lane in particular seems to entice people to come over here and kind of sit on the cap. The same thing in the north. They sit behind the road up about A5 or so, or maybe on the same corresponding little promontory over there. And if your team mauls them enough that they're weak enough when they show up, you can do some good work. But all of this preliminary, and now we're approaching 4 minutes of gameplay, and we really haven't been a factor. We are keeping these guys a little bit honest and not collapsing in on the Type 4 and the E75. But notice that the guys up on the 9 column over there, that's a nice shot, just dropped on his turret right there. Notice that they have not been able to push in and do anything, which is why I like to take my big bruising TDs like this and try to get to a place where we can be effective, a bit more forward than this, so that I can at least win a flank instead of waiting to see which flank loses and then I react to the losing flank. It looks like the beach actually lost. They sent a relatively significant portion of their tanks down there, but your team is losing in every direction. It's a stalemate over on the east. They lost the west on the beach, and the middle's about to collapse as well. So we back out. I like that you noticed that the beach has lost, and more than likely somebody's going to come up behind you, so you are pretty much forced to react to that. I would not take this to the beach. In this particular case, it might have helped, but that's hard to know, and if you went down there and they only sent 2 tanks, you'd really be out of the game. So I'm not bothered with this as far as reacting, because I think this is a smart move, especially if they're going to try to come up this hill. They may think, ooh, we're going to get around behind the T95, but the T95 has got his thinking cap on and has come around the corner. So this is really nice. You actually surprise these guys. They're like, this poor guy's not even looking. One of them snaps. All right. Everybody shot at you. You just shot the T-30. I believe this thing will out-reload a T-30. Man, I'd have pushed that T-30 and taken him out, even at risk of getting tracked by the E-75, because I would have used my repair kit once that happened and start backing out. Now, there is a Panther II going to follow up, and I don't know if he was there, but the problem is you're losing 4-7. This was a time to be a little bit more aggressive, and that's the other thing about TD players who like to hang in the back that I find, as a generalization, have very little idea about the timing of the game and understanding when they actually have to act, because they're so used to letting the enemy team come to them that a lot of times they give up on opportunities. And I think that was probably an opportunity to take out the other T-30. Was it a risk? Absolutely. But the good news is the guy comes up, and then there's the Panther, which you kill. T-30 tracks you, and you're actually able to get out. The E-75 comes in and bounces. Now, after what I just said, there was the Panther in there. He was the X factor that you didn't know about. Now, you saw his light. You may have been assuming he was up there, and that was too many guns for you to go after. So there's a trade-off there for sure, because the Panther is going to sit there and probably perma-track you quite a bit. You did have a kit, but I don't know if you're going to be able to repair it and get back. But this is what I'm talking about when you're kind of weighing risk and reward. Your team's done a decent job, got it back to 5-7. I think I'd have been more aggressive there, but I may have also been killed in there as well. But the problem, again, why I'm bringing this up is you have kind of forced yourself into this decision matrix because you didn't really do anything aggressive early on, right? You didn't really support anything other than kind of the middle, which they did lose. And we're going to back out. Now, piggybacking on what I just said is another opportunity has just presented itself. The Udez is going down the other hill. He's probably seen you clog these guys up, and he thinks, ooh, I can get around behind these guys. I'm a tier 9 medium. I get around and start helping this guy out, and you're still backing out. As soon as you saw him going down the ramp, I'd have pushed in. Because between the two of you, you'd own these guys. See, he's looking for shot. Now, he's lit the E-75. They know he's there now. Now's the time. Get down in there and start shooting these dudes. And then that Udez will get in behind him, and you're going to have a nice little shooting gallery and clean out those 2 or 3 tanks down there. I guess is it 2? It's 3. And unfortunately, you're letting this guy get rocked. See, he's getting hammered. Now he's got a Malshin behind him. Now they've sandwiched him, and you're not doing anything to help him. So opportunities, and finally you kind of notice it, opportunities missed by TD players who largely hang out in the back is pretty standard. Notice how this guy was not even really paying attention. He was sort of going, oh, do I need to turn around? Do I need to watch this T-95? I'd have fixed my tracks immediately and started moving. The good news is your Udez killed him. All right? And we're thinking, do we go down and fight this Malshin? No, yeah, probably not a good idea. Let's not go down the hill against the Malshin. And we'll head up. See what's going on over there on the east side? I think if you'd have been over there, you guys would have won that flank easily. And then we can come back and figure out how to deal with the rest of these guys down in this lower area. I really think that this pit and this west side is the most important terrain on this map, because if you can control this, if they try to push into you, you own them. If they try to get over to your cap, you own them. No problem. So you'd have been up there helping them take that down. So now the question is, all right, geez, we've kind of come back. We're still losing a little bit. What do I need to do? Well, we're still holding on over here. Still holding on over here, not by much. But we do have a Malshin over this way and a Tiger II, and then there's a Leopard. Now, he's the X Factor. The problem is he owns that middle, and that's bad for you. Now, he has a one-shot. I think what I would have done is I'd have come up and over this and went looking for the Malshin and just hoped that I could somehow press that advantage. Maybe get the Udez involved. Maybe get the LT-432 involved. But we're just going to kind of sit back on the cap right here. Now, when I am the LT-432 or the medium, and I see the TD is very reluctant to do anything but sit basically back at the cap, I'm not very interested in making bold moves. I'm just going to have to sit back as well and maybe try to get some lights for him. I can't support him other than sitting myself, because my big gun is just going to be sitting. This is a nice job right here. Put a little shot into that guy. How about that? A little low roll action at 676 is unfortunate. Wouldn't have killed him. All right, so now that just gives us a bunch of SA. The Tiger II is straight ahead, and the T-44 is over here, and this other T-44 is right here. Probably a good idea backing out. This T-44, I think he's actually firing the derp, or the 122 on this thing. So I think the damage potential showed 500 or so. Is that right for the 122 derp? I think it is. I think it is. I don't think the 100 does 500 HE damage. I could be wrong. So we're going to move around, kind of wiggle around, and boof, we just lost over here on the east side. And now we're in big trouble. We have a lot of tanks coming at us. The UDES, is he AFK? I don't know what he's doing. You know, he's still moving around. Got another big TD sitting over on the right. And the LT-432 is doing his best to light people up. Man, I guess I might have just gone for the Malshin. Like I said, if you'd have come up over here where the UDES was and gone right at him, you might have been able to get rid of him. Yes, you may have been aggroed by a bunch of medium guns, but at this point, we're just sort of giving up the initiative and letting the enemy team do whatever they want, right? Move wherever they want, look for shots, look for lights. We're all on the red line, spread out, really not able to cover each other very well. UDES dives down into the pit. It looks like we're going to kind of follow him down that way. And then, oops, shiny thing, the 44-100's over here. All right, again, opportunities. Looks like they're busy trying to find these guys. Nobody's really interested in pushing in on the T-95. Looks like they're all headed over this way. An opportunity again to try to go after the Malshin and see what we can do. Unfortunately, the UDES, I don't know if he dies. 432 dies. That's bad. We sort of react, but it's a little bit late. And now that 44-100 is probably coming our way. Finally pushing in at this guy. Boom, boom, and it's just too late. The Leopard's repositioned. He is up here on this hill, lighting me every time I move around. And again, everything is whatever the enemy wants to do. All right, let's talk real quick about TDs. You have to notice this guy coming in. You have to notice this guy come in. You can't let him do that. We're kind of zoomed in, so we just look at this Leopard and we don't notice that. You had this guy. He just comes raging in. You could have easily spun on him and taken him down. We don't notice him. Oh, geez, too late. All right, so he comes in and shoots us in the side. What we need to do now is try to get behind that building. Our best bet is just scrape him off on a building, and we're just kind of doing the panic back and forth. That's never going to do anything. You're not going to get away from him. So you needed to just back against that building and try to force him to either go around that way and maybe even cover up against the Tiger II and the PTA. Would you have made it? Maybe not. But it was way better than just trying to spin around out in the open, because you're never going to get to that guy. And then we ended up dying. So we get 5 kills. Nicely done. 4,170 damage, 220 assists. And you sent me and said, hey, what could I do to win? You know, this is pretty standard, a fairly standard thing that you see with big gun TDs with a lot of armor who sit in the back. They can rack up some damage, but very often they're doing it in losing events because they're just letting the enemy come to them. Quite honestly, I think this whole thing would have gone a lot better for your team. You may not have got as much damage, but this would have gone a lot better for your team if you'd have picked a flank and gone there and helped them fight. As opposed to, now, there's an argument, some may say, well, I did pick a flank. Get my mouse here. I was here and I was supporting this flank. I don't find this flank to be critical. I don't find the beach to be critical. You guys just lost on 2 flanks. That's always a problem. And you did not win on the other one. Right? It was a stalemate, loss. That's typically going to be a loss in the game. Unless you can do some super heroics end game with your TD at the cap, which we didn't get to because they had too many guns and coming around us. Where was there Emil 2? Did he ever? I wonder if he was on the cap. I just noticed there's an Emil 2 over there and he was never lit. Unless that's him, that red dot over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, he is. That's him lit over there. Okay. That's random tangent. So pick a flank, go there and help, And by picking a flank, I mean get up there, get up in their face, use this thing's armor and its fear factor, and just force your way through one of the flanks. I mean, that's really the best way that you can do with this thing. If you're content to sit in the back and accept large damage games with losses, well, that's fine. But you asked me how to win, right? How am I going to win this game? We talked about a few little mechanical things you could do in here as far as being a little bit more aggressive and that kind of thing. That may have helped. Okay, maybe. For example, the ramp thing I was talking about, you might have got down there and got permatracked because the Panther got there a lot faster than I thought he might. Okay? But at least you're trying to force the situation when things are going bad, vice just accepting the situation is coming at you. You can do that, but if you're going to do that, then I don't have a lot of advice for how to turn this kind of game into a win. If you're not going to be willing to go forward and try to get in their face and win a flank or be aggressive when you're starting to lose and sensing that, hey, I need to make something happen, then there's not a lot of advice that people can give to you that says, well, here's the best way to sit near your cap and TD. There is that thing. There is a best way to do that, and you did a pretty good job of it. But that doesn't win. That's the problem with the question, right? How do I camp and win more? Well, you don't. In the large picture, you simply just do not. The team with more activity, the team that wins flanks and gets more crossfire, the team with more map control, as a general rule, is going to beat you. Let's be real concerned. Call it 6 out of 10 times. But there's a 60% win rate, right? That's kind of the range that we work with in this game. 5, 10, maybe 20% difference in all win rates for the two outliers. So the question is, out of every 20 games, how does that one or two games that I can influence change? How do I change that into towards me? Well, this is one of the worst ways to change those one or two games towards you, sitting at the cap. All right, man. I mean, it was a good game. No, I can't argue with it. You got 4,000 as far as the damage goes. 4,100. You blocked 2,000. You did help that center flank. I'm going to call it a flank. The center hold for a little bit there. You did react nicely to what was going on down on the beach. But didn't you feel like it was always on your back heel? Like you never had a vote. You were just reacting to the other people's votes. That's what happens when you play that way. All right, man. That's all I've got. I hope that helps somehow. Probably the poor tracker's going to drive out in his T95 and get waxed next time. That is a danger with this tank. If you overextend or your buddies around you die, yes, you're going to get swarmed, circled. There's artillery, which is a problem, not in this game, but if there were 3 artillery in this game, I doubt you would have gone exactly where you were or stayed lit for as long as you did, more than likely. If you did, you'd have been pounded to snot by the arty. So there's a lot of issues with being aggressive in a T95. I completely understand that. But if you're truly asking me how do I win more, how do I win this battle, you're going to have to do it that way, to be quite honest. All right, man, that's all I've got. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I really appreciate it. We will see you.